every athlete loves working on their speed and agility. That's just a fact that comes down to it. Unless maybe it's like linemen or something like that. But otherwise, getting faster, being able to change directions better is something almost every athlete's always working on. Now the key is actually focusing on the right things for speed and agility, because it doesn't come down to the fancy drills that a lot of people end up doing. Speed and agility comes down to power, technique, and then the right breakdowns of each characteristic. For speed, that's going to be, again, power is the first one, technique to put your body in the best position to generate power and accelerate, and then focusing mostly on your ability to generate power in just the first few steps and accelerate out of it. And then also your hip flexion and your glute power. Those are the key things for speed. Agility comes down to the reactive changes in direction. And again, power, being able to stabilize, balance, and brake yourself, like actually decelerate to change that direction. And then that's the change in direction portion. To finish agility, you need to be able to have that reaction. And that's the key things to each one. So if you see both of them, speed and agility, come down very closely to power and generating power from single individual movements. And that's the key that actually lets you get a really good and effective speed and agility workout from almost anywhere, even when you're limited on space, because so much of it depends on the initial movement, not the long drills that you usually end up seeing. So I'm going to show you right here, especially with the lockdown we're in right now, but you can use these anytime. It's like a speed workout today, an agility workout tomorrow in the second half that you can do inside. So even if the weather's crappy, so that's why you're going to watch me do these inside, because I mean it. Short distance, improve that speed agility, and you'll be a better athlete. So an at-home speed workout first. When it comes to speed, we got power, technique, early acceleration, and turnover. We're going to start off with some skips and drills. We're not going to go too crazy with these, but these are an excellent way to start most speed and agility workouts, because they'll give you the technique piece and also go ahead and start getting warmed up. And if you do these right, you should already start also seeing some of that explosive bounce coming off the floor that really makes a difference between somebody with those quick, fast, accelerating steps when they're running and somebody who seems to always be running with heavy feet. So, all right, so check these out, work these into both of the workouts, whether it's speed and agility, and also again, focus on the technique. Even though they're easier, smaller exercises, do every single one right, practice it correctly 1,000 times rather than incorrectly 1,000 times. Got it? Arms bent, coming off the ball of the foot. Make sure, notice my heels are never touching the floor on these. It's all about pushing off, pulling the toes up every single time, and keeping that ankle pulled up. That's going to stretch the calf muscle, so as soon as it hits the ground, it's ready to push again. Then go faster. Keep driving through the ball of the foot. Get that knees now. Get those knees now. Notice the foot, the ankle, still at that same angle of having the toe pulled up. Once you get that, add that little bit of a skip. Make it quick. And then 2 more skips. Next one's called a B skip. It's going to get more of the actual running cycle as well as your hamstring involved. Everything's building on itself. So we're still driving off the ball of the foot, still keeping that toe up. But up, out, and pull it down. And make sure, a big mistake here is people will kick out and fall forward, or they'll reach back and kick this way. You want to make it like a running cycle, so straight up, out, pull, down, underneath of yourself. So again, up, out, pull, yeah. Go. And then the last one I like to do a lot, it's called the C skip. This one's a lot more for hip mobility. It starts just like the A skip, straight up, down, then it's followed immediately by the same foot coming to the side. but my chest is still forward. Forward, down, side. And forward, down, side. Forward, down, side. So you're getting that hip flexibility. One part about speed training that doesn't actually have anything to do with your legs, or at least doesn't seem to, is your arm action. Now, I'm personally not that much a believer in doing a ton of arm action work. Cats can also make you be faster, you can learn from them, but they don't have much arm action. But I don't believe in doing a whole lot of actual specific work with it. I'd much rather instead make sure athletes learn about it and then coach them in other drills through cues. But using a handful of drills so that they really know what's going on can make a huge difference in helping them be able to relate that in the future to the drills. And again, that's something that a lot of the other bigger speed coaches across the country also share, is again, the ability, like you can spend way too much time on arm drills. The one key that they all have in common that many people miss out is that ideally when you're focusing on your arm drills, try to keep a forward lean as much as possible so it actually puts your body in the position you're going to be when you're sprinting and accelerating. Okay, so when you're running more for distance, like an endurance runner or a cross-country runner, notice at that point your arm action is much shorter because it's going to be efficient. And at that point it's just keeping moving going, and ideally fast, but it's a very straight up run, and efficiency is the biggest goal of that. However, when you're sprinting, whether it's a 100 meter, 200 meter sprint, or ideally like on a football field, soccer pitch, very shorter distances, you want to have a strong forward lean and also have that aggressive arm action. Because with like that power generated from your arms, the arm length, the length of the range of motion is going to match your legs getting out there. So again, a more aggressive arm motion can actually increase the power that you generate from your legs. So that's where you get this. So I'm going to start it off in the most controlled fashion possible. So I like to do is a half kneeling position. Hey buddy. And again, get that forward lean. So mimic it. So don't actually just be up here. Instead, lean forward, diagonal. You should even have this little bit of diagonal action in your shin. This is coffee, by the way. And in your body, you should have the same angle from your knee all the way through your body, because when you're actually running, this will be all the way down through the floor. So again, we're out here, and get that single action. Again, be aggressive with it. Get that hand past your face and throw the arm back. Again, it's not about the elbow. It's about the entire motion of the arm. So make sure you're getting the whole thing and that you're separating them quickly. So a mental cue that I like is imagine ripping a sheet of paper. You can actually generate more force and speed when you think about taking two things and pulling them opposite of each other than if they were like, so if I think about pulling them, I get more speed that way personally than if instead I think about pushing them in that direction. Okay, it's just a mental cue, but for me, that ripping the paper analogy has always worked. Once an athlete looks pretty solid with their single motion, start having them do doubles. And of course, do this on both knees, by the way. Now, why does the double make so much of a difference compared to the single? A lot of athletes, when they suddenly do two motions at once, the first one, they'll cut it short because they're thinking about doing two. So what looked like this, what looked like a full range of motion single, will suddenly become like just a half rep, and then they'll go try to finish it. So they'll try to rush it. Again, so once you get to one, do a double rep to make sure that they're doing two full range of motion reps. Again, get that full range and stop. And again, forward lean. Once they've done that, go continuous. And once you have that, take them from the half kneeling to a more athletic forward lean position. Same drills. Okay, so another one of the most basic speed drills that I always start with, and again, being a perfect one to do somewhere really confined, like a home, like just a room inside your house, is a wall march. Again, these can seem like almost overly simple drills to people. But again, these are where your biggest foundational movements are made. This is where your biggest improvements are made, is in mastering these. So the wall march, have an athlete or stand in front of a solid surface, wall, closed door, anything like that, and then step back just enough so you can lean forward, and you have some form of diagonal angle into the floor again. Again, we want to be straight. This mimics how we want the body to be lined up as it's driving through the ground in a straight diagonal line. So again, that diagonal is going to get me to push through the ground, have a lot of that force go backwards, propelling me forward faster. Again, that's the difference between sprinting and accelerating versus the up tall endurance run, like I mentioned earlier during the arm action drills. So again, I out in front, forward lean. Notice I'm also on the balls of my feet. I'm not on my heels. So that's going to allow me to be fast and push. So I'm here, knees up. I want to separate this. Watch the back. When you do this, a lot of athletes, their hips will pull in front. They'll be here or they'll round. We want to have a neutral spine, which means it's straight while in that diagonal angle. Straight spine, good flexibility of the hip, ideally up by the knee, so this is at least 90 degrees and not a little bit more, and able to drive. And then, just like with the arm action and in the forward lean, same idea. Work one single movement at a time first. So we're here, single wall march, up. I want to drive in the direction of my line, so back towards my foot, and ideally punch through that ball of the foot. And because my toe's up, remember all these things build up. Just like in the earliest drills that I mentioned, I want to get used to running with my ankle up and toe up, because as soon as it hits the ground, it's going to push me through. If I run with a lazy ankle with my foot down, it's going to hit the ground, just slow down, because the rest of my leg has to put it in flexion to where it can actually push off. So keep it up at the start, make that a habit, so every time it hits the ground, it's instant explosiveness. Knee up, drive through. Knee up, drive through. Again, don't step down, that's not how you run. Run back, get yourself forward. Once you get used to that single march, they have the spine, they have the angle up, they're getting that power. Again, it should look like every time their foot hits the ground, they're bouncing off the ground. And it shouldn't be that force. It should be powerful, but it shouldn't look like I'm here and pushing. It should look like I'm actually bouncing and reacting off that ball of the foot. Once they've done that, make it more explosive. So actually shift and drive the other leg up before the other ones even hit the ground. Again, focus on the range of motion. Get that leg all the way up. Get your angle. Don't get lazy and start running straight up. Keep that angle. Once they get that, start working doubles and continuous. Same idea as the arm action. Athletes will take these drills, do them very correctly, one at a time. As soon as they do two or more, they'll start shortening it up. They'll start shortening the reps and cutting them down. Don't do that. Make sure you're getting full reps. So don't have great full range of motion on one and then shorten it up for two. Make sure you're doing 2 full reps. Full. Got it? All right, so now that you're getting the idea of the wall drills, the wall marches, and your more dynamic wall movements, this is another one that I put right into the same workout. I call it the single leg foot thruster. Now, when I say the same workout, I mean literally most of my athletes, when they go through this speed progression, will actually alternate sets of wall drills with single leg foot thrusters. What the single leg foot thruster is it's the exact same motion as your dynamic wall march, but now standing up and in free form. So now you will be straight up, but the key is again in establishing that explosiveness of foot contact with the ground. So like again, this is one of the single keys. And notice a huge thing about speed and agility and explosiveness is that the smallest motions end up playing the biggest role in whether or not you're explosive. So again, it's in running speed, learning how to run with that ankle up instead of down is that small motion we're talking about. It's going to give you the biggest investment on your return. So make that ankle up a habit, always. So have that ankle up, arms in a running motion. I'm going to aggressively drive this foot straight down through the ground. Now again, if you look, that foot, I'm going to move my foot out of the way a little bit, the other one. As I drive that one down, the ball of the foot should be what hits. Because my foot's already pulled up maximally, it can't really continue to go downward, so it's already going to meet a lot of force from the ground to push against my body and through my foot, which means I'm already going to be able to react and, in essence, bounce off of the floor, which is how you sprint. That's how you generate that power. You build up that speed. So I've got that ankle up, I explosively drive it down, and I punch off the ground. Up, down, punch. Again, it shouldn't look like I'm hitting the ground and then jumping. That's two different things. I didn't have the power here. So keep that ankle tight, keep it pulled up, punch it off the ground, and get that bounce up. So again, personally, my athletes actually go back and forth between wall drill, foot thruster. Wall drill, foot thruster. Got it? Good. So far, most of the drills we've done in our at-home speed workout have looked at technique, particularly the ankle motion, your body's angle in arm swing, and then the power with the leg drive through that fixed ankle. So another important one is going to be the turnover. So actually aggressively getting those feet off the ground, but equally, if not more so important, getting those knees up and having that hip flexibility so you have the range of motion you need to run fast and you get those glutes activated. So we're only going to really have one drill for that because it's all you need, especially in a short distance. And again, I just call it the tempo high knee and arm drill. Again, so it's just fast high knees, getting those arms involved, and again, try to keep them relatively loose, but then have specific periods, like short periods of going fast, and then slow it down into a walk, and then fast again. Again, that's actually going to serve you a little bit better than consistently going just one distance with the high knees, because one long distance, athletes tend to shorten that up and just think about getting it done, or again, they'll try to go too fast and they're barely moving. And two, when you actually put in the period of slowing down and walking and then getting fast again, that's way more like an actual real life game or sporting competition, is being able to turn on being fast and accelerating, which is true speed, rather than only having that one velocity. So again, just high knees, still try to keep that ankle up, and just nice and quick, relax, nice and quick, relax. Again, so full range of motion, fast arms, full knee drive, short, quick burst, relax, short, quick burst. Again, full range of motion is key for all of these. Okay, so we have technique work. We're making sure we're getting full range of motion, that we're taking full advantage of ankle placement, body lean, arm action, as well as getting full range of motion in the hips. And then we're getting power from the first few steps, and then fast turnover. So now we're going to actually get it off of a takeoff. Again, we're talking about short confined spaces. I'm in a kitchen right now, so we don't want to do an actual necessarily run. But again, the biggest differences are made in just the first handful of steps. So that's what gives us the advantage to make all of these actually work and be highly relatable to your performance on the field and improving your speed output, especially when you get back to normal practices in normal games. Again, these things will put you way ahead of the average person who isn't doing anything or isn't even just doing speed and agility, but they're not doing it correctly. And trust me, most athletes aren't. So the first one we're going to do is just based again on explosiveness from that first step, that first leg drive. Now I call this a split drop, what initially I'm going to do, and then I'm going to explode out, and in essence, what's a bound? So the bound is actually going to be the second exercise we'll do, because at first I'm only looking at that first step. So in the split drop, I'm actually standing. I'm going to slowly raise off of my heels. Now I'm not going to go all the way up. What that's going to do is as soon as I start raising my heels up off the ground, I'm going to instantly start putting tension on my calf. That's good because that's strength, that's power. I can use that. So I'm going to, again, slowly come up, The split drop that I'm talking about is as soon as I get even about a half to an inch off the ground, I'm going to split my feet, and then I'm going to use that impact, that placement of an ideally forward angle. Again, see, I'm still talking heels off the ground. That foot is going to hit and instantly explode me out. Again, ankle, again, so the same idea of the ankle. So I go from this slightly elevated position to locking that ankle up in this position and exploding out. So again, so in real life on the field, you make this into a run or into an actual explosive lunge out so you get maximum power. Well, that's what I'm going to do here. So again, slightly, like slowly raise, split, drive off. Notice how much I emphasized driving that knee off and even having the forward angle from my shins like as I did that, and arm action. So it's not a simple lunge, it's not like a jump. I'm trying to drive out and instantly get power for the very next step. Again, up, split, drive. And then the second one is bounding, which is in essence that type of impact and drive out to the high knees for distance and hang time. Now, bounding is normally done for some decent distances, like 20, 30 yards, even longer. It almost looks like a gazelle running. You hit the ground, it's an impact drill. So again, it's not running, but it's a single impact of that front leg driving up, instantly driving you off the ground again, and trying to cover as much distance with knee drive for the next one. Now, the key in bounding, the most important parts happen in just 2 steps. Because if you can get one bound and then reactively or explosively react into the second bound, then you can do it for distance as long as you keep your head on and you keep focusing on doing it correctly. So again, so a short space gives you just enough room to be able to do 2 bounds and work on that. So right here, explode, explode. And so that does it for our at-home speed workout. Not going to go into sets and reps. You know why? Because in the end, they don't matter in speed and agility nearly as much as the quality of work that you get. So you can focus on the details, focus on getting it right, and then get repetitive. Again, do the same thing 1,000 times correctly. That, like, improve on it, get that power output, feel good about it, get a good sweat, and then go ahead and consider that your workout. So if it makes you feel better, you know, put some times on it, put some goals, sets, and reps. But again, don't overthink that. Just get a good workout. 30 to 45 minutes on these drills will be more than enough. So again, I hope this helps out. Again, use this time to get better. Take these drills even after the lockdowns are lifted and you're back on the field. Take these drills and keep using them. Okay, because these basics are going to continue making you better, faster athlete who performs even better on the field. Take care, guys.